Hey, everybody. Hey, and welcome to episode number 59 of Coaching, Cocktails, and Conversations. Yes, I am your hostess with what I like to say, the absolute mostest. And I am so excited about this episode right here. Now, you might say, listen, is this one of Lolita's 10-minute power powwows? Is this the after chat? Which one is this? No. This is a podcast, honeys, and we are going all the way in. So who am I? I am Lolita E. Walker. I am a certified life, leadership, and executive coach. I am a power speaker, a TEDx speaker. I'm a two-time author. I am a podcaster. I'm a mommy. I'm a single mommy. I'm a divorced single mommy. I bring it to you every single thing I'm probably doing. I'm running for office. Did y'all know that? Because I talk about it all the time. Yes, I am running for the school board. And guess what? I'm a PhD. Is it candidate? No, I'm not a candidate because I've gotten admitted for acceptance, right? So I don't know what we're going to call that. But right now I am in the running to be Dr. Lolita E. Walker. So all of those things, but underneath of it all, okay? Underneath of it all is coaching, cocktails, and conversations. So let me tell you a little bit about this podcast. In case this is your first time listening in, go ahead and forward it to a friend because we are going live. And when I tell you we have a powerhouse today, okay, we have a powerhouse today. Yes, Stacy Raske. But hold on a minute. Let me back up and tell you what you are in for today. Coaching is all about leaving you with a couple nuggets just to challenge your thinking. It's no pressure. Listen, we're going to leave you with some gems today. We're going to take some of your comments today. We're going to dive right in. But at the end of all of this, you all only take what is going to help you move you forward. Right? That's it. Everything else becomes distractions. Everything else becomes weight. And what we don't do here is take anything additional on our shoulders. It's all about the flow. That was good because wait until you hear what we're going to talk about today. Okay. Next, there are cocktails. Now, this is not about what you're sipping on, but there's absolutely no judgment. This is all about celebrating the absolute greatness of who it is that you are. So I gift you a cheers to celebrate all of you. Okay. Yes, and yes. Look, we have some people come through. Awesome. We are so ready. People are coming into the room. And let me tell you, we are about to have some juicy conversations. Come on through. Hi, Lolita. How is your campaign going? It's going good. I'll tell y'all all about it in a bit today. All right. Because we're going to be talking about flow. Now, let me tell y'all about Stacy. Okay. I met Stacy. This is my first time even meeting her face to face, but she came through an audio forum and she was talking and she was speaking and she was talking about how to be this influential CEO. Okay. Influential CEO. We're going to talk to her about what does that mean? We are going to talk to her about how do you show up in it? We're going to talk to her about a winning mindset. We're going to talk to her about how you can leverage that not only as a business owner, but in home, at work, at life. Y'all know how we do around here. Coaching, cocktails, and conversation is really for you to really leap beyond where you're standing right now to where you absolutely want to go. So without any further ado, and I'm about to bring her up because we are about to have some fun. Hey, Stacy.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going so well. I am so excited that you are here. Welcome to the party.
Thank you. It is a hell of a party too. This is fabulous. Thank you so much. I love the energy. I'm just like, I'm juiced up. I want to vote for you too.
Yes, you can. I will talk about that. That is amazing. So I am running for the school board. I'm running for the school board District 9 in Prince George's County, Maryland. I am super excited about it. If you asked me a year ago, you couldn't have told me that I would be on this journey right here. Right. And that's just how life goes. That's that flow. That's owning your yes and respecting the no's that create the boundaries around you. So yes, and yes. Joanne said, how is your campaign coming? Let me just give you the little skinny on that. Amazing. Listen, there's been some little barriers that wanted to get in the way. That's okay. Because guess what we do? We know how to leap right over them. There's been some limiting beliefs that wanted to come in my head, but guess what we know? We move past them because we know our strengths and we already know how we demonstrated it and we're standing right here. So thank you so much for asking. Go ahead and forward this out because Stacy is not only an author, she is not only a power speaker, she is not only a business owner, but she talks really about influential CEO, influential leadership. And so, Stacy, I'd love for you to introduce yourself by first saying, I am in one of your strengths, and then tell us all about you.
Ooh, yes. Well, I am an influential activator.
Yes. Now tell us about you and what does that mean?
Oh, goodness. Yes. I mean, you kind of hit all the key things. Like, I am an author, speaker, coach, and mentor for executives and entrepreneurs, specifically focusing on scaling the leaders themselves in order to scale their impact in the world. So it's really about genius activation in the next level. I'm also a Iraq War veteran, badass biker chick. Actually working on book number 2 right now. So I have my Influential CEO podcast. And I don't know. I probably have all kinds of other things that I'm doing. Oh yeah, I'm on a television show called 4 Days to Save the World, and my episode will actually be out later this month. So
Congratulations.
thank you.
Where can we tap into that?
So let's see. Amazon, Apple TV, Roku, Human to Human Network is the actual network that is added on to a lot of those. Xbox, I think, as well. So,
What's
and
the
then I
name
think
of
there's
it?
more. The show itself is called 4 Days to Save the World.
Or like the FOUR or
Like
FOR?
the number 4.
Oh, the number 4.
Yes.
4 days.
4
Okay.
days to save the world.
Oh, to
Mhm.
save the world. Yes, let me add that in here so that
Right?
we
I
can
know. I'm
participate.
like, there's all this stuff I'm doing. I don't know. Like, you travel around and you just have like trip to trip to trip to trip because you're speaking on this stage and you're doing this. And then like, oh, in the middle of it, yeah, we're filming a television show.
Oh yeah, just like
It's just
parents. We just happen to be doing this thing over here. So talk to us a little bit about how you're leveraging your influential leadership when it comes to even getting on that TV show,
ooh,
showing up. I'd love for you
yeah.
to talk about that.
Absolutely. Ooh, who's Stacy Luckett? Who's that? Is that
Stacy
a
Luckett is joined by Stacy Luckett. Okay.
Oh, is that is that supposed to be me? I was like, "Oh, wait, is that a new
No, I
comment?"
don't. Oh, no, no, no. That's not right. Don't worry. But what we do have right here is
I was
you
like,
press the wrong
"Oh,
button.
what's happening?"
Don't worry. She's listening in though. Good. One of our Facebook users. We're live. We're live. Just take it in. One
I
of
love
our
it.
Facebook
It's
users
so
said, "Let's
funny.
get it in," and
I
then
love
someone else
it.
said, "Tap tap tap." Let's
Oh, there
fill
we
up on
go.
what
I
Lolita
love it.
does.
Okay, back to your question, which is
Yes, my question is, let's talk. If nothing else, we are going to crack up this entire time,
oh
right?
my goodness, right?
Yes.
That's the best.
So let's talk about leveraging your influential leadership,
Yeah.
especially when it came to getting on that show.
Absolutely. So, really, for me, I am that recovering type A control freak, quintessential alpha personality, kind of the negative sides of that alpha personality, that, natural born leader. But all I would do was function in that place of hustle and control and all the challenges that came with it despite a ton of success. And I
Mhm,
find that is a big pivot for so many leaders to be able to let go of control
mhm,
and are really stepping into the power of creating effortless success. And when I say effortless success, it's not without effort. It's just things don't feel hard anymore. But there's so
mhm.
many of us who wear that hustle and struggle and suffer as this badge of honor because of those old stories and programs.
Yeah.
So for me, I was my first client. So everything along this journey has been consistently leaning into my own expansion and growth. And basically, the deeper I go inward, the bigger my impact in the world. And that's the case for any of us. And so the more I learn, the better I can go, the better I can grow, the more I can bring everyone in my ecosystem along with me and impact on a bigger level. And it was learning how to own all of me,
Mhm.
to step into this radiant confidence that actually elevates and inspires others to their greatness. That's the influential leadership, where it's not about what we're doing, but it's about who we are being. And that being ends up impacting those around us. It allows us to lead by example, to really inspire those around us to step up and really be able to scale exponentially what we want to do in the world. So for those of us who are purpose-driven, impactors, disruptors, trailblazers, paradigm shifters, we've got to have that energy where it is who we are being. That's where it starts. And to be in that space of being completely unconditional, unapologetic, and truly being of highest service, because we're making sure that we're filling our cup and everyone's getting that amazing overflow.
Yes, we serve others through our own overflow, and I love that. Thank you so much to the Facebook user who said, Lolita, you have influential leadership. I appreciate that. And the juiciness about it is I don't know who the Facebook user is, so type in your name so I could really give you a shout out. I appreciate that and I receive it. I think that one of the things I heard you talk about, Stacy, was really this notion of being. And when you really stand grounded in your own foundation of your core values and who it is that you are when you bring it to the table, I love that you said, listen, when you tap into leaders, talk to me about that again. You said something about when you flow into leaders. Do you remember back what you were talking about leaders and what that represents for ourselves?
So our ability to be in that flow of this beingness ends up elevating those around us. So it helps us as leaders bring up other leaders. Because really, at the end of the day, that's the true ripple effect, is not just a me being me to the individual, but the more people that I can impact who are also in that space of being called to create their own impact, right? That's the magic of being a leader who's serving and elevating leaders, as opposed to just leading a team or leading a mission, right?
Yes.
So the more people that we can bring along with us, it's absolutely phenomenal.
Yes. Being your whole you, showing up in your whole you. So talk to us about, in your company, let's talk about teams. Let's talk about when people come to the table, you have different type of employees. Everybody shows up with their different selves, right? People go through so much, people have different personalities. How then do you, because I know there's somebody listening in that is waiting to hear this, they might be struggling in their leadership as a manager. People leave managers. They don't leave companies. They leave the managers. And so with that being said, the question for you is, how then would you coach someone to really be able to still sit in your essence, your being, and tap into that person wherever they are?
So the biggest thing I've learned over the last 25 years, and that would include military leadership, corporate leadership, and then business leadership, and now it's reflecting back and being like, okay, let's look at the patterns. Let's look at those lessons. And what I realized was leadership truly is about intelligence. However, it's not the intelligence that we think. So the foundation piece is truly our EQ, our emotional intelligence. So that's our conscious leadership. And what's interesting is that's being in that place of self-awareness. And we've got to really understand who we are in order to be able to connect with our teams and be able to influence and impact those around us. So many people, they just have their walls up. And they're unable to deeply connect to and really communicate with people on their team. And getting to that place too of being wise enough to not communicate the way you do. But as we elevate as leaders, we've got to meet our team where they are. We've got to adapt our communication skills to be able to tap into all of who we are. To be able to effectively communicate with someone over here and then this person over here, and they may communicate in completely different styles. Completely different styles, right? And so that, I think, is one of the biggest blocks I've noticed for a lot of leaders is they think they're doing the inner work, right? They get to the place of like, awesome, I'm being authentically me. And they're so locked into this idea of authenticity that they're no longer or they're not in that place of meeting their team members where they're at. They're not adapting themselves, their communication style, their leadership to match the needs of the people on their team. But that's the pivot from the doing to the being. It's no longer about me doing the tasks. It's about delegating, but me being the leader who's about supporting that individual to shine. And hopefully I've hired somebody who's better than me at this skill. Like that's their zone of genius. So what can I do to support you? And I'm matching them. So I've got people on my team who are very analytical. So I've got to talk to them in a certain way where it's like, okay, I think this is what you need, or, you're reflecting back to them and communicating in a way that they're going to get it. You're giving them the numbers, you're only giving them the exact information, the data they need, communicating in that style versus one of my creative types who's more in the space of visual or feeling. So it's like, okay, well, that really looks good, or I like that idea. Man, that feels amazing. I think we can make some cool stuff there, right? We've got to match them so they truly feel seen and heard and giving them exactly what they need, because that's our job now as a leader. But I see so many struggling with letting go of the doing, because how many of us advance ourselves into a leadership position, either as entrepreneurs or even you did good at a job in a company, you get promoted, but now you're like, wait, but my skills are doing the job, not leading. It's a totally different ballgame.
Yes, it is. You said so many things right there. Thank you so much for all of that. You said so many things. One of the key points that you talked about to me, if I summed it up, was situational leadership and knowing the situation, the person, and being able to adapt so that now they're able to receive. And that's so super important. I love that. Another thing you talked about, even before we got on the call today, you were talking to me about your schedule. And I was saying, hey, I'm meeting to meeting to meeting today. That's today I'm meeting to meeting. And you were like, oh no, I'm not meeting to meeting today. And so talk to us about that, because there's some people who are here and they go meeting to meeting to meeting every day. It happens at Thursday. I pile them in so that I can make room on other days. But talk to us about your meeting schedule, because I think it's amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it was important for me. I mean, at the end of the day, right? My capacity to be the leader of my team, my businesses, my clients need me to be truly is me functioning in the highest level, right? So doing the things that I need to do to fill my cup so I can pour into everyone else and not be drained. So my boundaries were huge in creating when I'm available to the public and when I'm not. So 3 weeks out of the month, I am available to the public in terms of client sessions, virtual coffees, the occasional sales call. Thank you, sales team. I am so grateful that I hired out for that at this point. But like when I was doing the sales calls, like all of that stuff there's 3 weeks out of the month that I do that, like group sessions for my clients, even just private sessions, all the stuff. And that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Well, it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Now it's Tuesday, Thursday, Friday are the only days. So 3, 6, 9 days out of the month for the most part. That's all I'm available to the public. Monday's an office day. And now Wednesday is also an office day. One is team and business related. The other is me doing the things I need to do to move the needle forward within my companies. So that last week of the month is kind of my integration week. So that's this week. I'm not back to back. There's a lot of space in my calendar this week. So, if I want to fit in a podcast interview, anything like that, it works really well. It gives me that time to kind of play catch up if there's any overdue things on the to-do list. It creates some space for me because I'm the visionary in my companies. I have my integrators. So, I've got to create that space for me to do that vision driving,
Oh, so
to
good.
think of all of that stuff. So yeah, and it took time to create that and then be able to hold to it in a way that felt good.
Oh, I love that you said that at the end because that's so important for folks that's listening in. And what they're hearing is time blocking. What they're hearing is making a commitment to yourself. What they're hearing is creating a boundary and holding yourself accountable for it. And knowing that there's going to be times where you don't always hit that, but gifting yourself grace. And one of the things that I did hear you say is earlier was, you know what? You've got to know yourself. And I talk about that on coaching cocktails and conversations all of the time. And I'd love to get your perspective. What if there's someone out there and they're saying, you know what? I really don't know that I can talk about the essence of Lolita E. Walker, insert your name. I
Mhm.
really don't really know that I have found who it is that I am, what my purpose is. What is something that you would coach them on today? Like that's a tangible step that they can take to begin this self discovery process.
So I love, love, love that question because that bridges such a huge gap. And really, that's that next step. So, I mean, the first step really is being in that place of self awareness. And keep in mind, most of us, it's literally our trauma response to constantly check out, focus on the next thing, squirrel, distraction. We're keeping our nervous system so elevated and ourselves so overstimulated that we don't slow down enough to actually have awareness of who we're being, what we're feeling, what we're thinking. So that's really that first step. So for me, I just gave myself a few minutes in the morning and a few minutes at night to just check in like, all right, AM gratitudes. What am I grateful for? And I challenge myself to be grateful for something new every day because I know people do the same ones all the time and they're not challenging the experience. And the biggest one for me was being grateful in the challenges I was experiencing because that's where I learned the most about myself. And then at the end of the day, writing down wins and successes. And there's a difference. Wins are the external wins. You closed a client, you didn't lose your shit in the face of adversity, like whatever the case may be. It's that external win. But the internal successes are even more important. Who were you being to allow that win to happen? Right. And so it's just these small questions to ask ourselves every day. But we begin to build that self awareness, that conscious leadership, which keep in mind, we've got to start with self leadership long before we could ever impact anyone else. And that's what we're doing. So you move from the conscious leadership into the somatic leadership, which is that bringing yourself out of being in headspace all the time down into your body. We've got to have this balance. And most of us are so checked out of our bodies. We are not trusting our intuition. And the biggest win for being able to get down into our bodies is being present. Just the
Mm.
ability to be present. And what's so fabulous about that is when you bring in the body wisdom and the emotional intelligence, now you're getting into the space of spiritual intelligence.
Mhm.
And then you're able to begin stepping more into the visionary and the influential leader. And then over time, as you're building all of these together, you get to that pinnacle of this influential leadership. So it truly starts just with those simple questions of self. What are you grateful for? Because we've got to be in gratitude. There's always something we can find to be grateful for. That helps pivot into the positive. And then just that evaluation every day on what you accomplished, your successes, your wins, the positive stuff.
Oh, so good. And if this is not your first time, we talk here all the time. I love that you talked about it, celebrating your wins. Celebrating your wins, because in those days that don't feel like your best, you want to be able to go back and recognize that, guess what? I am winning. I'm winning in this moment. Love, you talked about gratitude. We have Felicia who has been really pouring in our comments. She said, yes, emotional intelligence has all of those tips wrapped in. She also said, because we must, capitalized must,
Must.
recharge ourselves to be able to motivate, lead, and equip others. And then this is a super special shout out to you, Stacy. She said, good stuff. Defining wins versus successes. right? So super powerful. So listen, I know all of you all who are listening to the replay, going to hear this again when this is streaming in all platforms for Coaching Cocktails and Conversations. Make sure you subscribe. But one of the things we do around here is the Come As You Are round. And so what I am going to do is just power you with a quick couple of questions, and then you just answer whatever comes first. You ready?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. The first is, what is one strength without a shadow of a doubt that you know that you have, but you didn't always recognize it was a strength?
Ooh, yes. So this is a really interesting one. So most people will say to me or say publicly that it's actually my vulnerability is my superpower. And I correct them because it's actually my ability to create safe space is my superpower. If I was not able to create my own internal safety that I was able to then extend to those around me, they would not feel safe enough to mirror the vulnerability and emotional access that I have, because that's all they're doing. It's safe for them to tap into what they want to and who they desire to be and bring their real selves to the table.
Oh, so good. Now, one of the things that you just said, I am going to lean into a little bit because I know that there's my Coaching Cocktails and Conversations community that's like, Lolita, are you going to say something? Because that's a little different than what it is you be talking about over here in these streets. So I wanted to get your perspective on it, and let me tell you what it is. I always talk to them about when somebody gifts you a strength that is yours, to receive it, right? Because they see something in you. So yes, folks, you don't have to send me an email. You don't have to send me a DM. I'm saying it right here for you live. And so I wanted to lean in because one of the things that I also heard you say, right, I think, is that you correct them and then you talk about, I create safe spaces, and within that you then feel comfortable to now be vulnerable, which is what they shared with you is your superpower in the beginning. So I'd love to know, honestly, one, do you agree with me? Because you might not, and that's okay. That's why we have juicy conversations over here. And then I'd love for you to just talk a little bit about it.
Well, for me, it's always receiving the compliment because it's always that amazing reflection, and that is true, right? It's the ability to be vulnerable to that degree and authentic to that degree is rare and refreshing, right? So for us, we're really good at curating people in our ecosystems who are like this. So we're like, that's awesome. Like we're just getting to be that. And for me, I just always use it as that teaching opportunity to say, that it was really for me in my journey was understanding and empowering both my feminine energy and my masculine energy. So obviously the beauty and the power of that divine feminine in that the strength and the vulnerability and the authenticity and the creative flow, and being able to create the internal safety and stability through things like the boundaries, right? That beautiful, healthy, divine masculine, because I had none. It was all control and all the unhealthy, disempowered stuff for me. And so, that is helping them get a better understanding of what they're experiencing and why it's so important for both. I always say it's, I always had access to that flow, that emotion and that authenticity and that vulnerability. Problem was, nothing was keeping it contained. So having the river banks of the boundaries really help guide and direct that flow. And why I've been able to create so much impact in the world was because I had to get those riverbanks. Otherwise it was of emotion and not always good.
No, I totally understand.
So I hope that answers your question.
It does. Absolutely. We had Felicia come back and say, "Ooh, creating your own safe space is your superpower." Juicy and a light bulb moment. And so thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you so much, Felicia, for, just being right here and present inside of this interview for Coaching Cocktails and Conversations. All right. Our second question is this for the power round is, why is the work that you do specifically so important to this world?
Ooh, that's a good one. For me, it's never about me, right? I feel like so many of us who are really purpose driven, we're just the conduit, right? We're just the ones that are showing up and sharing, and shining our light for the purpose of inspiring and elevating others, guiding others to their truths. And for me, it is the more leaders we can elevate in their influence, their ability to impact, fueled by their passion and purpose, we make this world a better place, because it's that servant leadership, it's that impact, it's people fueled by wanting to change the world for the better.
Absolutely. You have this sense of being. I love it. You have this sense of discovery of self, of being a healed person on your journey. And that's so important to be able to talk to, because I firmly believe that when you go through your healing journey or self-discovery journey, that at the end of it, you're able to not only think more expansively, but you're able to move some things to distractions that once were so pivotal and important to you, they're no longer that important, because you have this renewed lens that you're coming to work with, that you're coming, just living life with. And I love how you describe, and it's so interesting because our friend Felicia said, guess what? Come through, sis. Riverbanks and boundaries. Two snaps up and two snaps down. And I love that, because what I find in people who are really rooted in themselves is that they're able to not only articulate, but describe in imagery, because it's about the feeling of where it is you are. It's about bringing somebody into the essence of where you are being. And I'd love to then, therefore, go to this third question in the Come As You Are round, which is, what is one boundary? What is one barrier that still stands before you today? Boundary, barrier.
Yes, right. Exactly. It's funny because it's always a work in progress. Every time I'm constantly growing and expanding and winning, new level, same devil. It's always a gift to trigger some next deeper level of the old shit, to bring it up, process, release, learn what I need to learn. So, and to some degree, it's always going to be, for me, well, not always, but I've found historically, it tends to still be in those same lanes of the exact stuff that I help my clients with is the exact stuff I'm constantly working on myself. That's why I'm so good at it. So it's always dialing in and getting better with my boundaries. However, at this point, it is truly the boundaries with self, because at the end of the day, that's the only relationship. Every one of those external relationships is a mirror reflection of the relationship with myself. So the more I get dialed in, focusing on what I have control over, me, and holding to my boundaries with me, the less I go into the old habits of trying to control. And at this point, the control issues are no longer perfection. There can be a little procrastination here and there. That's just, sometimes you just want to be stimulating. Be like, I'll just crank it out at the last minute, but I focus well then. But it's that subtle control of things like the hustle, really trying to curate the results, which at the end of the day, we can't control the results. We can only control the actions we take to generate the results. So I have to be mindful of going into some of those old subtle sabotage cycles, creating that pressure. So for me, it was a lot of the taking on responsibility for things that are not within my control. And now in 6 months, I went from solopreneur to team of 12. That's a lot of responsibility. And thank you. And to be mindful of that, right? Like I hired my husband, he's my integrator in my second company. So it's easy to go into that pressure space of, wow, our entire financial future is dependent on my ability to show up.
Yes.
And so it's easy to go down that old rabbit hole that's very self-destructive. And I was very self-destructive. I mean, my rock bottom moment was only the end of 2014. And to be able to build and heal and lean in the way that I have, it's just consistently creating the checks and balances for me. So I'm always working with a coach or a mentor. Always. I have anywhere from 1 to 4 at any given time. Keep me in check. Keep me in check so I can be the leader that this team, this mission, this movement, my clients, whoever else needs me to be.
Yes, 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 yes. And yes, I love it. And then not only when you get to that space, you said so much there. Not only when you get to that space, I love that then you hired on people who are already in your circle who have already showed that they can absolutely handle the task in the way that you would like for them to, in the way that represents you. We have someone who said the hustle. I feel that the hustle is a whole mental, spiritual, and emotional roller coaster. It is. Felicia
Yeah.
said that. It absolutely is. And we talk about this roller coaster all the time. And the thing about roller coasters is it starts at a point and then there's a journey. It takes you up and then you sit at this pinnacle. You sit at this pinnacle and sometimes you can choose to sit there if you like. And then sometimes you're going to go. We already know you're going to go to a low at some point. But there's adrenaline, there's energy, there's emotion, there's right spiritual, mental, all of the leads come right in there. And I love that you talked procrastination. Keep me in check for this TEDx, Lolita. Absolutely. I'm a TEDx speaker and I did a live in my Facebook group, which is where Felicia is now coaching cocktails and conversations, which is streaming live in there right now. And I was talking about everyone has an idea that's worth spreading. Everyone. And we talked about tips and strategies like right now that you can do to get in that red carpet. And so that is the check for accountability to ensure that we are holding each other accountable. I love it. Listen, here we are because we're rounding out and this has been so super good. Stacy, why do people come to you? How do they know it is time for me to call up Stacy?
So it is different what I do and how I do it. That's pretty much the consensus all my clients say. They're like, nobody's doing this way. And basically, I always describe it in the sense of all of these leaders, they've done a ton of work, right? They've hired the strategists, they've hired the executive coaches, they've done therapy, they've done these different, mindset guru over here. They've done all of this stuff, and yet they're still hitting that invisible ceiling, right? They're hitting that upper limit, whatever it is, where their success is compartmentalized. Either everything's working pretty good, but not together, or it's really imbalanced, where business is amazing, team might be working pretty good, but then maybe home and health are not. So there's always somewhere where things are out of whack. And what's interesting is we just focus on breaking down the internal walls, eliminate the internal compartments, you eliminate the external compartments. And so instead of trying to chase this concept of balance, which honestly is total BS, and instead are able to create harmony by integrating everything. So for myself, I've been able to build lifestyle, leadership, and legacy that all three are the result of the same thing, which is me just being me.
Yes, yes, and yes, that is perfect. Super perfect. Thank you so much for being here. Not only do you have a sheer essence about you, exactly as I heard you when I reached out and said you would be the perfect guest on Coaching Cocktails and Conversation. And what Felicia did say is right here that loving this lunch that your guest is feeding me. We love it. And that is why we are here. So I want to say thank you so much. How can people get connected directly to you?
Yeah, the easiest way is stacyraske.com is kind of the central hub. And pretty much if you search Stacy Raske, any platform, I'm there. So any of those are easy. So yeah, you can hear me on Clubhouse. You can find me on any of the other social media platforms.
I love it. And so make sure you all get connected if you are not already. I'm going to shift you really quickly. Don't leave because I would love to follow up. Listen, thank you so much. We had such an amazing conversation right here. Coaching, cocktails, and conversations is exactly where you need to be. Cannot wait for you to go ahead and not only subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching that here right now, LinkedIn, make sure you comment, Facebook, inside my community. Felicia is going all the way in. I'm so glad. And we will have juicy conversations about this coming up in the next couple of days, maybe even starting into next week, because it is a long weekend for us here. I want to just say thank you. I want to give each of you all a cheers for not only listening in, but for simply being you. And Stacy Raske joined us today, and a lot of what she talked about was really you being. You could see it in her essence. You could hear it in her words. You could see how she's showing up and how she talked about that this is a journey. So don't think that it's all going to come at one time. We want to give yourself grace and make sure that when you are going to be an influential CEO for your companies, for yourself, for your walk in life, that is really driven by your clarity, your confidence, and your commitment, but that is really driven exactly as she talked about today, which is not new news. I want you guys to hear what she said today, which is leaning on the foundation of self discovery. It's your work to do. Thank you so much, because this podcast is helping you on your journey. Coaching, cocktails, and conversations. Thank you so much for being here. Look in the show notes and listen to this right here, you all. Did you guys know I'm having a September Women's Weekend Renewal Retreat? Of course you did. You want to talk about being, you want to talk about doing, you want to talk about all of the things to make you your whole you, to help you rediscover. Because according to Lolita E. Walker, there are 11 aspects of life, and we are going to tap into each and every one of them. We're going to dig through, and we have some amazing folks that are going to be there. Go to lolitawalker.com for all of the things. Make sure you are also going to stacyraske.com to lean into the amazing work that she is doing as well. Check the show notes, and I'll see you again very soon on Coaching, Cocktails, and Conversations. Bye.